What is the future of Iranian nuclear program?
The IAEA Director General 2 days ago has given a statement that the Iranian nuclear program has been badly damaged, but it is not completely destroyed. The American and Israeli desire that the Iranian nuclear program should be completely eliminated has not been fulfilled.
What is the future if Iran starts and resumes nuclear enrichment?
Under international law, one country cannot decide whether it is acceptable or not.
Or not.
The US cannot decide that it is unacceptable.
It's the UN Security Council, exactly.
Yeah, it'll go into the Security Council.
What is the latest situation? Up to what extent the damage has been caused to the nuclear facilities?
Iran has developed a lot of centrifuges. I think if I say that they have 10,000 or so centrifuges, it won't be wrong.
Why Iran wanted to develop nuclear weapons at a time when no country wanted to use these nuclear weapons? Do you think Iran wanted to develop nuclear weapons only for deterrence?
I think all those countries which want nuclear weapons are doing it for deterrence, not for use. Iran just wants to have that advantageous position rather than actually develop a nuclear weapon.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to program Insight in V News English. Dear viewers, the biggest news that circulates in the global media that Iran has officially announced to end its cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency. What will be the consequences of the suspension of this cooperation? Means at a time when United States very sharply commented on Iranian decision and termed it unacceptable. So what will be the future? Will Iran resume its nuclear enrichment? On the other side, the nuclear inspectors from International Atomic Energy Agency has already arrived in Iran. But after the adoption of this legislation from Iranian parliament, followed by consent given by the Iranian president and supreme body, now Iran has stopped officially nuclear inspectors to go to the concerned sites. However, Iranian ambassador to United States made it clear that nuclear inspectors present in Iran are safe and there are no threats to them. Keeping in view these all developments, the question is, what is the future of Iranian nuclear program, number one, and number two? During the recent strikes by United States on Iranian nuclear sites, how much damage has been occurred to the enrichment process or to the centrifuges? To discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us Pakistan's former ambassador to International Atomic Energy Agency, Pakistan's former ambassador to Austria, renowned diplomat, and currently executive director of Center for International Strategic Studies, Ambassador Sarwar Naqvi Saab is with us. Very warm welcome to program Insight in V News English Excellency.
Thank you, Mateen Saab. Pleasure to be with you.
So, since the topic is of global interest, I would like to seek your comment that since Iran has now officially announced to end its cooperation, the president has signed on the bill adopted by Iranian Majlis-e-Shura that clearly indicates that Iran will no more be cooperating with International Atomic Energy Agency, and inspectors currently present in Iran have been stopped from visiting the nuclear site that has been damaged. Furthermore, the IAEA chief has also been stopped from visiting Iran. He has been denied opportunity to visit Iran. How you see this particular development? Earlier, there have been massive strikes, followed by strikes. Now there is a new development that Iran has ended its cooperation with IAEA. In this suspension of cooperation, what is the future of Iranian nuclear program? Ambassador Naqvi Saab.
Yes, Mateen Saab, this is a new development.
Yes.
But it is not entirely negative. The negative is, of course, very serious that Iran has withdrawn its cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency, and as a result, the IAEA will not be able to monitor the
Exactly.
state of the Iranian nuclear program. There are 4 or 5 major centers of Iranian nuclear activities, Natanz and Isfahan and Fordow, and also one near Tehran. So all these centers are going to be inaccessible to the IAEA for the first time because Iran is under obligation as a member of the IAEA to give full access to the International Atomic Energy Agency to monitor its programs. The IAEA installs cameras in all the installations where the nuclear activity is going on. So if they are doing the enrichment of uranium or if they are doing any other development program, that should be in the knowledge of the IAEA. But the positive is,
please continue.
The positive is that Iran has not withdrawn from the NPT, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. And that is very important because Iran had threatened earlier on that it would withdraw from the NPT itself. If Iran has not withdrawn from the NPT, it remains subject to the restrictions of the NPT that it should not develop a military program. So to that extent, Iran is still abiding by its international commitments. However, giving up the cooperation with the IAEA can be interpreted by the experts as one negative step, but it is not as serious as leaving the non-proliferation treaty. So I think this is something that is understandable because Iran's nuclear facilities were bombed by the Americans by B-2 aircraft and the heavy 20-ton and 40-ton bombs with which they bombarded these facilities. But again, the IAEA Director General 2 days ago has given a statement that the Iranian nuclear program has been badly damaged, but it is not completely destroyed, and Iran can recover the lost ground in a short period of time. And today, the Pentagon has given a statement that Iran can recover its program and
within 2 years.
Within 2 years, the damage can be covered in 2 years. So the American and Israeli desire that the Iranian nuclear program should be completely eliminated has not been fulfilled, and Iran has maintained its program. So to that extent, I think it is a success of Iran that it has salvaged its program. It has been able to survive the program, salvage the program, and now it is remaining in the NPT, but withdrawing its cooperation with the IAEA.
Ambassador Elisabeth Naqvi, as you said, that Iran is quite successful, and the desire of Americans and Israelis to completely eliminate Iranian nuclear program has not been successful. You also quoted an American intelligence assessment confirmed by Pentagon today. So the Pentagon and the American State Department spokesperson made this word unacceptable. So how you interpret this unacceptable? If Iran starts and resumes nuclear enrichment, do you think there will be again harsh reaction? There could be any practical harsh reaction like bombing of nuclear facilities? What is the future if Iran starts and resumes nuclear enrichment?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think when the State Department spokesman Tammy Bruce says that it is unacceptable, then that is, again, under international law, one country cannot decide whether it is acceptable or not.
Or not.
The US cannot decide that it is unacceptable. How?
It's a
Who are
UN
they?
Security Council, exactly.
Yeah, it'll go into the Security Council. And the Security Council has already given its ruling some time ago, a few years ago, that the Iranian government must abide by its commitments with the IAEA statute and should remain within the NPT. So the Americans cannot say that this is acceptable or non-acceptable. And Iran certainly will not accept or will not listen or adhere to what the Americans are saying. So Americans are being very unfair by declaring it unacceptable. Why they are saying it? That is for creating the ground, in my view, for future military action against Iran's nuclear program. And that can be dangerous. It can cause a lot of damage again. But you see, the nature of the Iranian nuclear program, as I am aware of it, as I was in Vienna, I was ambassador of Pakistan in Vienna at the time when this issue came up. And I was consulting with Iranian colleague, the ambassador of Iran. So I know that the Iranian program has developed much more since then, and it has all kinds of multi-layered security, which will protect its program from complete destruction. And Iran will be able to continue on its path of using nuclear technology for various peaceful uses, and could also divert it for military purposes.
This is a very significant point you have shared, that since almost 2 decades, Iran has developed its nuclear program to the extent that the centrifuges could not be destroyed. Since you are closely monitoring these all developments, you have your assessment, you have an access to the information. And in one of in our previous programs, when there was an initial strikes, you had confirmed that the centrifuges are saved. What is the latest situation? Up to what extent the damage has been caused to the nuclear facilities?
Mateen sir, I can only go by the open sources and what the information is publicly available. I don't know exactly what the position is inside their nuclear facilities, but Iran has developed a lot of centrifuges. I think if I say that they have 10,000 or so centrifuges, it won't be wrong.
So say again 10,000.
10,000. And if the Americans have destroyed 2,000 out of that, they would still be having 8,000 centrifuges. So they have enough centrifuges to enrich uranium. And that is the key point. They have still the capability, and as far as my knowledge goes, of enriching uranium, which can lead to having weapons grade
nuclear weapons,
fissile material. Yeah, which will lead to nuclear bomb. So I think it is pretty difficult for Iran, because of American hostility, to pursue this program without too much bother. But if they are determined, I think they will be able to continue the process of enrichment and developing weapons grade material, fissile material, which can be used for weapons. Making weapons.
Exactly. Ambassador Naqvi Saab, you're also a historian. You have read history, Second World War. Last time when nuclear bombs were used by United States, it was in Japan in the Second World War. Since that, nuclear weapons have not been used. Please share your assessment. Why Iran wanted to develop nuclear weapons at a time when no country wanted to use these nuclear weapons? Do you think Iran wanted to develop nuclear weapons only for deterrence? What is your own assessment?
I think all those countries which want nuclear weapons are doing it for deterrence, not for use. American bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, in which
Exactly.
they used nuclear weapons, which were very preliminary and very rudimentary. Now, at this day and age,
Much
they
bigger
have
than
become
that. Exactly.
outdated, and we now have much more sophisticated nuclear weapons. However, the countries which seek nuclear weapons are seeking it for deterrence, because if they don't have it, they are subject to the aggression of other countries. Look at the case of Ukraine. Ukraine is suffering mainly because it gave up its nuclear program in 1994 under the Budapest Agreement. And look at, on the other hand, North Korea. North Korea is very provocative, is always taking a stance hostile to the West,
Exactly.
hostile to South Korea. Yeah, and yet nobody can touch it. Nobody can do anything to North Korea. The Americans themselves are unable to do and take any action again. Therefore, nuclear weapons become a protection. It is a protection against the insecurity of the country involved. So I think Iran is suffering under the insecurity created by the hostility of the West and Israel, and therefore Iran is determined to pursue its nuclear program. Now, Iran is not saying it's developing nuclear weapons. So Iran has the option. It will have the option of developing nuclear weapons, but actually it is not proceeding to develop nuclear weapons. So Iran just wants to have that advantageous position rather than actually develop a nuclear weapon.
There is another important development. So since this Iran-Israeli ceasefire, a lot has been said that number of countries played an important role, on the top United States. But behind the scene now, there is a buzz in the media that Pakistan also played a significant role in bringing Israel and Iran to the ceasefire. And if we look into the streets of Tehran, in the last 1 week, we have seen Pakistani flag in the hands of the Iranian, slogans in favor of Pakistan. How you see the role of Pakistan in de-escalating the Iranian-Israeli conflict?
Well, first place, while the Iran-Israeli conflict was going on, Field Marshal Asim Munir was in Washington, and he was hosted by President Trump. So, and they had a 2-hour meeting with the lunch included.
Exactly.
So during this meeting,
extraordinary
I think
meeting, exactly.
Many issues could have been discussed, and I think President Trump listened to Pakistani point of view about Iran, and therefore it's possible that Pakistan may have played a role in the ceasefire that came about soon after that. But excuse me. I think this was an initiative of the Americans, and it was mainly due to, I think, and I'll give you my personal assessment, it was due to the fact that the Iranian missiles penetrated the Iron Dome and the Arrow and the David Sling and all the protective mechanisms that the Israelis had. And in
other words, it destroyed the Israeli defense system completely, collapsed.
Yes. And they caused fear and panic amongst the people of Israel in Tel Aviv, in Jerusalem, and even in those small towns like Bat Yam and whatever. So I think the main reason why the ceasefire was initiated by the US was that the Israeli population was panicking, and they were greatly disturbed. They even at night they were sitting in the bunkers. This has never happened in Israel before. No power in the world has penetrated Israeli defenses in the past. And Israel used to be very confident that it can protect its citizens, but Iran showed that they can't, and that Iran can penetrate their perimeters. Now, the Iranians, of course, were also worried that the American bombing of the B-2, which is a fearsome and a very horrendous news airplane, which is a stealth jet. So it is not detected by the radars. That was causing a lot of damage in Iran. So both sides were in such a situation that though they were using their missiles against each other, both of them were also very, very worried about the security of their citizens. And therefore, the ceasefire initiative was acceptable to both of them.
Excellency, other than nuclear program, so strikes by Israel and United States on Iran has exposed Iranian intelligence and defense system. So other than resuming the nuclear enrichment, what do you think? Will Iran pay attention in strengthening its air force, in strengthening its intelligence system, particularly counterintelligence, ground security, armed forces? What do you think? And do you think China and other friendly countries will cooperate with Iran in further developing its traditional defense system?
Yes, that's a very good question. You see, I personally feel, and I don't know, I mean, this is my own assessment, that there is a serious security breach in Iran. There are people in Iran who are giving information to Israel and to the Americans. And this has happened from way back. It's not new. It is, in fact, since a long time. First, there was the cyber attack of the Stuxnet on Iranian nuclear program. Then you will remember that many Iranian scientists were killed at that time. One man was killed while he was going in his car and all that. Now, recently, Ismail Hania was killed in Iran. And this Hamas leader. And then Qasim Soleimani was killed by the Israelis. So there is definitely some security breach, and Iran will have to strengthen its security and should be focusing on that problem to correct it.
So do you think in future Iran can seek the defense cooperation from China, particularly in getting JF Thunder fighter jets, because Iran daily needs its air force to rebuild and make it more strong?
Yes, I think Iran would look towards suppliers of equipment which can be very effective, and Chinese aircraft have proved to be very effective in the India-Pakistan conflict. So if China gives Iran the JF Thunder and the JC-10, then Iran would be much better equipped to deal with its security. And I think that is very much possible.
Another thing is, Ambassador Ali Sarwar Naqvi saw the negative role played by Indians present in Iran. They provided all strategic information which they gathered and provided it to Israelis. So question is, in future, do you think now Iran will review its ties with India and gradually will start expelling Indians who have been employed in different locations, doing business and other things? But finally, as you said also, it was very, very damaging for Iran because some of the sensitive information and data was provided to Israelis.
Yes, that's a very good point. You're very right. I think Iran will be reviewing its relations with India, and it would be perhaps sending back some Indians and also stopping future Indian nationals to enter into Iran. This would be a big change because in the past, Iran had cozied up to India in a big way. They had signed an agreement of cooperation, and they had also developed that project of Chabahar Port, which is a multi-billion-dollar project. I think the Iranians will now realize that the Indians are not very trustworthy, and they will be very careful in dealing with India now. So this is going to be a big change, and it would have regional implications. You see, that would draw Iran closer to Pakistan. And Pakistan's main problem with Iran was that they were encouraging the Indians, using the Indians, and establishing all their other facilities. In fact, even Kulbhushan Yadav was, you will recall, was based in Iran. And he was operating from there, spying against Pakistan. So I think Iran will review that and would perhaps become very restrained in its dealings with India.
So lastly, I would like to seek your very, very valuable comment, keeping in view these all geopolitical developments rapidly taking place in the world, and particularly in the region. When we talk of Pakistan-Iran relations, please share your insight, how it will be possible for Pakistan to balance its ties with Tehran and with Washington, how Pakistan will be able to balance its relationship with two different countries at a time when you nicely elaborated that during the conflict, Pakistan's army chief was present over there. So how Pakistan would balance and would manage its ties with two different countries?
Yes. First, with Iran, I think we have no basic dispute with Iran. I have always said that we have no territorial dispute, no political dispute, no water dispute. We have no basic or fundamental difference with Iran. What we do have is problems on the border. Now, that I think border management should be improved by both sides, because there are, occasionally some hot-headed people who shoot at the other side, and this causes a skirmish and all that kind of thing. So that is one. As far as Washington is concerned, I think we need to explain to Washington that Iran is our neighbor. And we cannot completely dissociate ourselves from Iran. And we would continue to have a good relationship with the US. But the US should understand our requirement of being cooperative with Iran. You see, India had made the point that it needed Iranian oil, and the Americans had allowed it. So it is how you represent yourself. Recently, our diplomacy has been doing very well, and I expect that our diplomats will persuade the Americans that they should not object to our relationship with Iran, and we should have a good working cooperative relationship with that country.
Thank you so much, Excellency Ambassador Ali Sarwar Naqvi Saab, for extremely valuable analysis and insightful discussion on the future of Iranian nuclear program. And the conclusion is that Iran still has the capability and, of course, the relevant technology and the centrifuges to resume nuclear enrichment. Thank you so much once again. Despite your very, very busy schedule, you participated in our program and commented one of the most important, pressing, and emerging development. Dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz.